Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sunway International School's 8th Coffee Talk series this evening. On behalf of my SIS colleagues, as well as a very esteemed panel of speakers, I just want to bid all of you welcome. We are very grateful to all of you for spending your evening hours with us, a Friday evening, notwithstanding the World Cup being in competition with our time this evening. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, allow me to first of all introduce to you who will be our speakers tonight. But maybe before that, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mien, and I'm the Executive Director of Sunway International Schools, as well as the Director of Pre-University Studies at Sunway College. Tonight, with a topic such as this one, which is to understand the different curriculum options that are available to all of us, and your children. We have a very large number of people who have indicated interest, and we've already been receiving a lot of questions. And so, in welcoming you tonight and working through this evening and the questions, I also would like to introduce to you my co-moderator. I think you saw that on the previous slide. Here it is again. So Sarah, and you'll see her on the screen later, is also a co-moderator. So with this, allow me to run through very quickly some housekeeping. Again, many of us are familiar with Zoom meetings. We will try to keep to the time and finish this session by about 9:30 p.m. tonight. So during this session, please feel free to type in your questions into the chat box. All lines will be muted for easy management of the event, but please type in your questions. We will definitely endeavor to answer as many of the questions as we can. And in the event there's any unforeseen circumstances or technical delays, we hope you'll just bear with us. So with this, allow us to get started. This evening, I'm very honored by the presence of a very esteemed panel of speakers. Could I have the next slide, please? In no particular order, allow me to introduce Mr. Ng Kim Huat, who is the Country Director for Malaysia and Brunei for Cambridge Assessment International Education, which we commonly call CAIE. Mr. Ng is one of the longest standing Country Director of Cambridge International. He is a qualified teacher, a qualified graduate teacher in English and economics, and has held various positions over 20 years at the Ministry of Education in Malaysia, including being the examination specialist as well as the Federal Inspector of Schools. He has also worked as an academic administrator and quality manager at a reputable international school in Malaysia. Mr. Ng's major responsibility is to support and promote the growth of Cambridge general qualifications, especially the IGCSE, AS, and A levels. He also liaises with several divisions of the Ministry of Education, as well as coordinate activities with the Ministry of Education in Brunei. And so tonight, I'm very honored and we are very honored and privileged to have with us Mr. Ng Kim Huat, a dear colleague in education. Thank you, Mr. Ng, for being with us. He's actually right now in Kuching. So thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank you.
Next we have, thank you, Kim Huat. Next, we have Mr. Faisal Musa, who is the Senior Development Manager for Southeast Asia and Bangladesh of the International Baccalaureate, or IB. Based in Kuala Lumpur, Faisal works with schools that are interested to offer the IB programs in Southeast Asia and Bangladesh. His work also involves increasing the recognition of IB programs by universities and governments. Faisal began his career in education management at the British Council in Malaysia as the acting Deputy Country Exams Director, where he also held the position of Examination Services Manager. His last position was Schools Development Manager, Indonesia for Cambridge Assessment International Education. That's the organization that Mr. Ng is with. Before joining the International Baccalaureate, or IB, in 2013. So I wish to again, on behalf of the audience as well as the organizers, welcome, Mr. Faisal. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Tonight is a special night for Mr. Faisal. He's just completed his second master's degree, and tomorrow is his graduation ceremony early in the morning. So we are very grateful indeed, yeah, Mr. Faisal, for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you to you too. Thank you, Sunway.
Thank you, Faisal. Yeah. Next, we have Miss Ruth Chia, Director of Program for Cambridge A-Level at Sunway College. Miss Ruth served the Ministry of Education, or MOE Malaysia, for more than 30 years, and she rose from rank and file as teacher to language department head to afternoon school supervisor, senior assistant, acting head, and ending her last position in the public school system as a school principal. During her tenure as principal of SMK Tropicana, Ruth received the Bahia Award twice from the Malaysian Ministry of Education. This award recognizes her achievement as head of school for the most transformed or most improved secondary school in our country. She raised that school's performance from the bottom 12% to the top 1/3 position in the nationwide school ranking system within a short 3 years and 8 months. My grandson can barely talk in 3 years and 8 months. So Ruth, Miss Ruth, I want to thank you and congratulate you for what you have done in our public school system. Today, Ruth is also the director of the Cambridge A-Level program, and she has been the director since 2016 and is responsible for the amazing accolades and track record results that the students, the A-Level students in Sunway College achieve. So it's not surprising that she's also received the Tokoh Guru Award by the Selangor State Education Department. So thank you very much, Ms. Ruth, for being with us tonight. We are grateful for your presence.
Thank you, Mian.
Thank you, Ruth. Last but not least, we have on our very esteemed panel, Mr. Craig Giro, who is principal of Sunway International School in Sunway City, Iskandar Putri. Mr. Giro holds an Honours Bachelor of Arts degree from Wilfrid Laurier University and a Bachelor of Education and a Master of Education from the University of Toronto. Entering his 26th year in education, he has served as teacher and administrator in Japan, China, Malaysia, Singapore, Switzerland, and Canada. And that's just to name a few, because I'm sure Mr. Giro will add more to the list. Before coming to Malaysia, Craig served 9 years as vice principal with the Toronto District School Board, and most recently at an IBDP secondary school in Toronto. He is active in the International Baccalaureate Education Network as an IB school consultant, reader, and site verification visitor. And so we are very grateful to Mr. Craig Giro for being with us tonight and sharing with us not just his experience as a Canadian educator, but also as an IB educator.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, the night is short, and so let us begin our coffee chat. I hope everyone has got a cup of coffee or tea, and have it ready, because we certainly would like to have our sips of coffee and tea together with a very enjoyable conversation. So ladies and gentlemen, to perhaps set the context for tonight's discussion, I'd like to perhaps walk us through some common facts or quick facts on the international school market or the international school landscape or space as it is presently. So all of us know, as parents, as educators, as industry captains, that the international school market has indeed been growing over many years, and particularly the last 10 years. If you look at this particular slide, you will see that the number of international schools and the number of students, and needless to say, the number of staff in international schools have increased over the last 10 years, from 2010 all the way through to recently 2021 and even this year, 2022. Overall, the increase in the number of international schools globally accounts for some 4.7% increase over the past decade, corresponding to a 4.8% increase in student population. That's clear to see. As the number of schools increase, so too the student numbers, as well as the numbers of teachers, which increased in a slightly higher quantum at 5.2%. So with all these numbers of schools increasing, I think a question that often comes to the minds of parents and even us as educators, is what are these schools about? What are these schools like? What are these schools offering? And that's what tonight is about. In setting the context, ladies and gentlemen, and bringing data from recent research, data shows that the more popular or the more subscribed to types of curriculum if we take the top three most popular or most highly subscribed curricula tend to be that of the UK national curriculum or related to the UK or British national curriculum. That accounts for 52% of all international schools globally. Following close behind are actually two sets of curricula. One by the International Baccalaureate or IB, which accounts for 20% of all the international schools across the world, as well as the American or US type of curriculum, which accounts for 21% of all schools across the world. And this data is fairly recent from a research data 2020. Now, the schools will produce children or students or graduates with particular qualifications. And in education, we sometimes call this the exit qualification, the last school qualification our children will hold. So in terms of the data that you see on the left-hand side table, it is clear, or it is not surprising, that 17% of all international schools, the exit qualification would be the A level, 15% of all international schools, the IB qualification, and the 7% would be the US AP or advanced placement. So just moving along. Yes. As the data on the last slide just suggested, the top three most popular school curriculum in the world today, invariably Canadian education pops up. And so you can see from the PISA results here, and parents, I think we all know that PISA is the Program for International Student Assessment, which measures students' ability or capabilities in math or numeracy, in reading or literacy, as well as in thinking or inquiry, in the sciences, so to speak. Again, since the start of the OECD's PISA assessments, the Canadian education has always ranked either top 5 or top 10 consistently since as far back as 2002. So again, tonight we are interested to find out more about the Canadian education, which, as you can see on the table, in the table on the right, is described in 2021 as one of the top 4 in the world as best country for education. It is rated top in terms of quality education. It has got a very well-developed public education system that has now filtered even outside of Canada. And of course, access to universities around the world with the Canadian qualification. In particular, this evening, we will be talking with Mr. Craig Giroux about the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, or the OSSD qualification. It's wide recognition across Canada, universities in the United States, as well as all over the world. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that gives a bit of context or background to the conversation we're going to have this evening. And to get the ball rolling, so to speak, I'd like to start tonight's conversation with a chat with Mr. Craig Giroux about the Canadian education system. So Craig, could you give us an overview of the Canadian education system, especially the range from kindergarten to grade 12 or K to 12, and if you could share with us what would be the benefits of going through the Canadian curriculum?
Sure. So you can see, when we say Canadian, we're really talking about the province of Ontario curriculum, and this is the one that's currently offered throughout Malaysia. In Canada, education is a provincial responsibility, and each province designs its own curriculum. Having said that, though, most provinces, including Ontario, follow a model that has 2 years of full-day kindergarten, followed by 12 years of elementary and secondary education. So 8 years in elementary and 4 years in secondary. So in kindergarten, there's just one program, and that is for student ages 4 to 5 years old. In elementary, we call that grades 1 to 8 for students who are age 6 to 13 years old. And there, students primarily study 8 subjects. There's a strong emphasis on language and numeracy, or English and math. And these are the subjects that have the most focus and the most number of minutes allotted to their instruction. Then they set other subjects, language acquisition, science, social studies, physical education, art, and music. In secondary school, if you just go back one slide, please. So, in secondary school, you're really looking at a lot more choice. There's like 19 subject disciplines. And then within those disciplines, there's over 300 individual courses that students could take. So there really is a huge breadth of choice. Next slide, please. So we're really going to focus tonight on talking about the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. So to achieve the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, you have to take 30 credits, or essentially successfully pass 30 subjects. Okay, 16 of these are compulsory, and 14 are electives. If you go to the next slide, you'll see the breakdown of those 16 compulsory courses. And then you can see that the first, is the first 10 years, essentially from grades 1 to grade 10, there's really a focus on building essential knowledge. And you can see that there's not much choice in what students take. It's not till grade 10 that students start receiving some choice. And then after that, they're focusing on a breadth of courses to suit post-secondary goals. So as you can see by the chart, there's increasing choice as students progress. And then finally, in their senior years, in their year 11, grade 12, they have a lot of choice. And then additionally, courses are further divided by level. So for example, in mathematics, you could be taking like a course like math for everyday living that would prepare you for going right out into the workplace. You could be taking college of math, you could be teaching university level math. Within university level math, you could be taking data management, calculus, functions. There's all kinds of choices available. The curriculum is developed by the Ministry of Education in Ontario. It develops that in consultation with stakeholders and partners. It has mandatory learning expectations, what the students must learn, and that is delegated to schools to judge the students' learning and level of learning. So the schools have to follow, or any school offering the Ontario curriculum must follow the ministry policies related to assessment, evaluation and reporting, special education, equity, and inclusive education. There's an emphasis on continuous assessment, and usually 70% of a student's mark is based on projects and assignments that are done throughout the course. 30% of the mark may be based on a final exam, or a final culminating project, or a combination of both of those. That's up for the school to decide. Next slide, please. So the benefits of going through the program, I think, is its flexibility. There are pathways that can take you to university to pursue a degree, to college to pursue a diploma, to technical or trade schools to achieve like certification in a particular area, or directly to the workplace. And the other big advantage, I think, of the Ontario curriculum is that it's recognized throughout the English-speaking world, or anywhere there's an English-speaking university, universities worldwide. So, going through this curriculum can, take you to any English-speaking university, or French if you go through it in French. But we won't get into that, as I assume most people tonight are focused on doing this OSSD in English. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig, for that outline. I don't know if some of you were taking copious notes, but I really, I think the three key points I took away from Mr. Giro's outline, Craig's outline, is that the Canadian system is indeed fairly flexible. I like the way the boxes became more and more empty in his slide on the secondary school subject requirements. And at the last stage, I think in grade 11, there were only 2 compulsory subjects, math and English. And by the time we get to grade 12, only English is compulsory, and which means the child actually have that blank box there, that blank column for any other subject that they want to take, in terms of their career interest or personal interest. So it speaks of a lot of choices, I think I'm hearing, as well as flexibility. And I think the last bit I got from you, Craig, was that it's not true that if you want to take the Canadian pathway, you must go to Canada. You can take the Canadian qualification and go anywhere in the world. Is that right?
Yeah, anywhere. Well, it's accepted throughout, English-speaking universities. Throughout the world.
Great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, because it tends to be a myth that people think that if you took the Canadian program, you can only go to Canada. And so that's not true.
Yeah, and even students who are taking, in Ontario, go to different parts of the world, United States, Australia,
Exactly.
wherever they can go. Right now you can go anywhere, right? Anywhere
Exactly.
that you can today. We were no longer limited by where we live.
That's right. The Canadians are going to every part of the world, eh? All right. So shifting over to another program that we are, focusing or talking about tonight, the International Baccalaureate is a program that is gaining popularity. It does not belong to any country or nation in particular, and truly, therefore, the word international describes what Mr. Giro and I were talking about just a moment ago in terms of students going everywhere. So to tell us more about the IB, can I invite Mr. Faisal Musa, if the camera can spotlight Faisal. Faisal, could you tell us about IB then? How about the International Baccalaureate? Could you tell us a little bit about maybe its history, and how did the IB come about, and why would you say it's getting more and more popular nowadays?
Thank you, Mien. Hello, everyone. So, all right, you can see the slide. So the IB is considered, historically, the IB is considered as a young organization as compared to few other curriculum providers. And it was only established 54 years ago in 1968 in Geneva. With IB diploma program, was the first IB program. The IB is not for profit organization, and that it was founded by early influencers and founders who are among well-known academicians throughout the modern history, as they want more progressive education that suits students from different culture and academic backgrounds. Our legal office is located in Geneva, Switzerland, but it is not a Swiss curriculum. Many students and parents ask me about that. So I have to highlight that. And then we have global centers in Singapore that manage IB schools in the Asia Pacific region, and then one in Washington DC that manage North and South America schools. And then we have also IB Global Center in The Hague, the Netherlands, that manage IB operation in Africa, Europe, and Middle East, and the last one in Cardiff, that manage assessment. So as mentioned by Mien just now, there's no head office for the IB, and then IB is truly international curriculum. And to date, actually, there are more than 5,700 authorized IB schools in 160 countries, although that we are still 54 years old. And then those are excluding schools in the candidacy stage, because in order to become an IB school, to authorize to offer the IB, the school will need to go through a very thorough authorization process. There are 4 IB programs. IB PYP is meant for students 3 to 12 years old. IB Middle Years program, which is equivalent to IGCSE or O-level. and then IB diploma program equivalent to STPM or A-level, and then IB career-related program that IB was just introduced in 2012. That focusing on career-specific, career-related program. Yeah, this is also equivalent to STPM and also A-level. So, to address your question, why the IB is gaining rapid popularity in just 54 years. Yeah? Now we are in 160 countries. So in line with our motto, education for a better world, yeah, I think the IB mission statement, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, IB mission statement, really powerful, a powerful message, yeah, to educators around the world, yeah, and school operators around the world. This convey a very powerful message to them, because we want us to our objective is to develop holistic student, well-rounded student, not only excel in academic but also they have we develop skills, character of the students, so student will become an active learner, and importantly will become lifelong learners. Yeah, so students not only learn to excel in academics, as I mentioned just now, but they learn how to learn. Yeah, they learn the skill how to become a learner. Yeah, even though regardless which program the students do, MYP, IB diploma program, or IB career-related program, so they will learn a skill. They will learn skills to become successful learner. So they become a lifelong learner. Yeah. And then that has very much actually influenced me as well. That's why when she introduced me just now, she mentioned what I'm doing my second master's degree. Like, yeah, I really, very much influenced with the IB mission statement. And then the IB learner profile as well. Yeah, the next slide. Yeah, so in order to achieve the mission through our curriculum, yeah, this is something that will the IB learner profile embedded or integrated to the curriculum. Is part of the curriculum. Yeah, it's not something like the IB publish for students or schools to remember, to have this poster, no. Yeah, so the IB learner profile is integrated to the curriculum, is part of the curriculum. Yeah, so IB student will be able to develop IB learner profile, these 10 learner attributes. And then why other reasons why of the popularity of the IB, yeah, because curriculum are delivered through approaches to teaching and learning, yeah, so it's more progressive, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, so we want to develop holistic students, so students will be able to think critically, solve complex problems, and drive their own learning. Yeah, and then MYP, take as an example. For example, is a very flexible framework. It can be mapped with national curriculum, so it's culturally sensitive. Yeah, so or any other curriculum, even Canadian curriculum, for example, it can be integrated. Yeah, so it's this flexibility also one of the reasons why IB has gained actually popularity. And IB programs celebrate interests of the student. Take, for example, MYP, where the personal project allow the student actually to choose based on their interests, yeah? Because different students have different interests and different talent, different strength, yeah? Music, IT, mathematics, life science, yeah. This, when the student do IB diploma later, for example, after they finish IB middle years program, they can continue, they can pursue this, yeah, through their extended essay, for example, yeah, in the IB diploma. So students, they not only study, they memorize fact and take the examination, but they will be able to develop more, yeah, to polish more their interests, for example, yeah. And then our assessment has summative and formative, it's criteria related, and the final one that I would like to mention is about the recognition. And this is very, very important. IB program have wide recognition worldwide, yeah, in top universities, but later we will talk more about this wide recognition. That's all from me for now. Mian, over to you.
Thank you very much, Faisal. Thank you. I mean, so much information. I was taking down, parents, I don't know what notes you have captured, but for me, I'm hearing that the IB program or the IB curricula whether it's at the primary level, the middle school, and then at the diploma or careers. The focus is really on developing our children as whole, as holistically, as all-rounders, with a lot of focus on helping our children on the ways to learn, how to learn. I like the way, the focus is on developing them as lifelong learners as well. So I'm being influenced as well, Faisal, hearing from you, yes, the importance of being a lifelong learner. And I think the other word I captured is what's on the slide now, that focus on developing international mindedness in the students, through your approaches in teaching and learning. All right, thank you very much. I'm sure parents, you've got a lot of questions to ask, so start penning it down or typing it into the chat box as invited by my co-moderator, Sarah, But just moving along, okay, we've listened to Mr. Craig Giroux give an outline on the Canadian system that's based in Ontario, that's based in Toronto, for example, if you've got friends living in Toronto. And then we listened to Faisal walk us through the IB framework, as it were, the IB philosophy and framework. Now let's shift over to another program which really needs little introduction, because I think all Malaysians, if not all Malaysians, have heard of the Cambridge IGCSE. So I would like to invite Mr. Ng Kim Huat to speak. And if yes, can you spotlight Mr. Ng? Thank you very much, Kim Huat, for joining us tonight. Now, as I've said, many parents have heard about the IGCSE. Aside it being a UK qualification, what exactly is the IGCSE and how does it work? Over to you, Kim Huat.
Hi, Mian. Thank you for the introduction and also for chairing today's meeting. So I hope the broadband in hotel here in Kuching will be stable. So I just want to thank my other colleagues here, Craig and Faisal. And I always say that each curriculum is fit for purpose. There's no such thing as the best curriculum in the world, or a curriculum that fits all sizes, that fits all purposes. So I just want to highlight some key points of the Cambridge curriculum. So quite often I ask people, how good is good? So we have all different standards, different expectations, different interpretations of how we want to, of what constitute a good curriculum. So in the Cambridge curriculum, I say it is very close to our Malaysian curriculum, the KBSR, KBSM. So it's the National Integrated Curriculum, where we start with primary. So this is the Cambridge pathway. We also call it the Cambridge Curriculum Continuum, where we start from primary. You start from 5 years to 11 years. So we have subjects like English, first and second language, as a first and second language, maths, science, ICT, and global perspectives as well. And 2 years back, we added 4 more subjects: art and design, music, global digital literacy, and also physical education. And as we move on, then when they finish the primary at about year 11 plus, they move on to the Cambridge Lower Secondary for 11, a 3-year program from 7, 8, 9, so years 7, 8, and 9, quite similar subjects, and also the 4 subjects, digital literacy, art and design, music, and PE. And as they finish year 9, they start the critical part of 2 years, 10 and 11. That's where they have this Cambridge Upper Secondary program, where it's a 2-year program, and then for IGCSE, there are 70 plus subjects. In our national curriculum, in SPM, we only have about 25, So, and then we still continuing with the international O level, and in US, we package it as an ICE or International Certificate in Education program. So as they finish year 11, they take the IGCSE, which is equivalent to GCO levels. The Malaysian SPM as well is also considered another version of GCO levels. And then we got the Brunei GCO level, Singaporean GCO level, Mauritius, and so on. So they are almost equivalent versions of the O levels, where they finish at year 16. And after the IGCSE program, as what Mian calls it just now, the exit programs, they can move on to A level. So the Cambridge Advanced Subsidiary, or AS, and Advanced or GCE A levels advanced program. So there are about 55 plus subjects for the for students to choose from. So broadly speaking, this is the Cambridge curriculum. It's a well-structured curriculum Yeah, so they move on, one builds on the other. Yeah, okay. Shall we move on to the next one? Next. So when I say what constitutes a good curriculum, so when we analyze a curriculum, so from the Cambridge perspectives, we consider three key elements for a good curriculum. So when you choose a curriculum, you ask yourself, how well does it prepare you for higher education? Any good curriculum must prepare you for higher education. Number two, how well does it prepare you for careers or work? How current is the knowledge that you learn? How well prepared are you for the career, your work area? And the third one, how well does it prepare you for future lives? So I think over the last 2 years, this has even become more important when people talk about resilience, resistance, well-being. And so these are qualities that we embed into our curriculum. And the fourth dimension, if I can say something, what is also important, what is considered good curriculum, I would call it universal appeal, where it transcends ethnic, religions, cultural, and regional differences, preparing students to be the global citizens, quite similar to what some of my colleagues said just now. So it's global citizenship, and it's a similar program in the Ministry of Education. Next one. So when we talk about preparing students for higher education, we develop three key areas. Number one, the student have to be imparted with deep subject knowledge. Deep subject knowledge is a key word, And then there's got to be good conceptual understanding and rigorous programs that prepare students that took into higher order thinking skills. And that is important. So then when we talk about careers, there has to be a wide choice of subjects, a flexibility in combination of art and sciences. So there's got to be a broad, balanced, and enlightening curriculum. So a good combination of hard and soft skills. So quite often I talk about enlightening. People ask me, Mr. what is enlightening to you may not be enlightening to me. I say, fair enough, but I will give you my version of enlightening. It's just two key areas. So number one, what you learn, you use for life. If I learn to play guitar, I play it for life. If I learn how to play basketball, I play it for life. If I learn how to speak Mandarin, I most probably speak it for life. If I learn to speak French, if I learn how to weave a basket, I most probably take up basketry, so and weaving and so on. So that is first aspect. The second, what you learn will touch your soul, S-O-U-L, but you also reach your soul, S-O-L-E. So if you look at literature, if you read Julius Caesar when you are 12 years old, you read Julius Caesar again when you're 15, read it again when you're 21, read it again when you're 30, it has got different levels of interpretation to you. That is what I would call an enlightening subject. So if you can single out a subject that's enlightening, you'll be literature, art, drama. And the third aspect, how does it prepare you for future lives? So in the Cambridge curriculum, we developed 5 highly powerful and desirable learner attributes. And these are the attributes that will inspire students to love learning, and in return, you help them to achieve success in school, higher education, and the workplace and life in general. Next. So the 5 attributes that we embed into the Cambridge curriculum. Number one, the confident learner. Lots of deep knowledge, very secure in the knowledge. Number 2, the responsible learner, taking responsibility for his or her own learning, set targets for himself or herself, and also insisting on intellectual integrity. The third attribute will be the reflective learner, where you continue to keep on improving as a student. How well can I become a better student? How can I improve my learning? How can I get better results? So the reflective learner. And the fourth attribute will be the innovative learner, because we are living in a digital age. So you can't help it but to be digital literate, to be innovative and creative. The resourceful, creative, and imaginative. And the fifth one is the engaged learner, intellectually and socially, to be ready to make a difference to the world. In other words, an informed curiosity, where you learn new skills, receptive to new skills, so that you can constructively contribute back to society, make the world a better place. And this has become more important if you look at the current engagement, the current priority being given to the they call it the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, climate change. So these are 5 key attributes that we embed into the Cambridge curriculum. Okay, and then when we look at the areas to consider in the international curriculum, we have to set international benchmarks, and that is very important. The colleague talk about recognition. Yeah, you have to have good recognition. You have to set respectable benchmarks or standards. Then there's got to be an approach, a global approach to the curriculum. In other words, is an international curriculum. You can take it from any part of the world. Yeah, and the third element to consider as an international education, you have to look at curriculum, teaching, learning, and assessment. So when we look at these 4 areas, curriculum, teaching, learning, and assessment, it will work very well. It works best when, this is a very powerful statement, when curriculum, teaching, learning, and assessment are closely aligned. That's what we try to do in the Cambridge curriculum. Yeah. So when these 4 areas are closely aligned. So my colleagues just now talk a little bit. So what are the programs you have after IGCSE? Yeah, there are quite a number of pre-U programs. You can progress to do A levels, you can do IB diploma, STPM, Ministry of Education matriculation program, South Australia matriculation. There are lots of, easily 11, 12, 13, yeah, ADT, advanced placement, and diploma international pre-U, Canadian pre-U, lots of training programs. So then you ask yourself, which one best suits me? Yeah. So this is always a question that parents face. And if I could just, before I end my talk, if I could just share, I'll give you a little tip, TIP. We had this kind of a pre-discussion, and I was just saying, number one, it is good to have the end in mind. Where do you want to go? Which country would you like to study? Every country is different. They have different requirements. So if I can look at it, I give you a little tip, is TIP. T, number one, stands for look at talent. Look at the child's talent. Number 2, I stands for interest. Which areas a child interested in? The third one is passion. You have the passion to sustain what you want to learn. Yeah. So if you look at TIP, you can't possibly go that wrong. Yeah. And if you consider these areas, it will lead you to TIPS. Yeah? The last one, the S stands for success. It will definitely bring success to you. Yeah? Just a quick tip to share with you. Yeah? So I think I've completed my slides. Yeah? Any more slides from me? Yeah, okay, this is just a contact address, Cambridge website. Do log into it. There's a lot of information you can extract from it anytime. Send me a WhatsApp if you have any further questions. Yeah. With that, I just want to say thank you to the management of Sunway International School, to my colleagues here, Sunway, and for Mien for chairing this session and this very privileged invitation to join your coffee talk. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Mien.
Woohoo! Thank you very much, Mr. Ng Kim Huat. There were so many nuggets of gold, in what Kim Huat has shared just now. I really like the fact that Kim Huat, you established a very important point that tonight is not about asking which is the better or is there a best curriculum. Yeah, every school curriculum sets out to educate children. Yeah, it's just that there are different approaches to it, and I like how Mr. Ng Kim Huat has helped us to appreciate that in the Cambridge system, there's a very wide range of subjects, and there's the universal appeal through the Cambridge International Program, and that it's very important, parents, I think, and I wrote this down, that the education program that we choose must truly prepare our children, firstly for higher education, if not higher education, then their careers, and if not their careers, certainly it must be for their future life. So thank you very much, Mr. Ng, for that. I actually look forward to your book or to your tips, that you can even share further and elaborate on. So again, if all of us can give firstly a virtual applause to all our speakers for sharing and giving us that background, as it were, that context of how the different curricula are different. I think fundamentally what I'm hearing is whether it's the Canadian education system or the IB schools approaches or Cambridge International's syllabus, as it were, they all set out to educate our children. They all set out to prepare them for 21st century. They all set out to help them to become better learners and to be able to acquire knowledge and to do that for the rest of their lives, as a lifelong learner. The difference may lie, however, in the approaches to doing that, in terms of their framework, in terms of the structure, in terms of when different subjects are introduced, in terms of when students are assessed, and how our students or children are assessed. Yeah. So with that, I'd like to shift gear to what Mr. Ng actually ended up, one of his slides saying, which is a better fit or which is a better program potentially for my child. I'd like to move the next segment over to Ruth Chia. Yeah? Ruth is a very experienced educator. She has worked with many groups of students for very many years, guiding them on how to not just excel in examinations, but to do well as individuals. Yeah. So I'd like to shift over to now choosing the curriculum. And Ruth, if I may throw you the more difficult question. Yeah. Tonight, we have SIS, Sunway International Schools have invited all these speakers, including yourself, to talk about the different curricula. Why is it important for parents to know about these different curriculum options? Is there a right curriculum for our children? Yeah, over to you, Ruth.
Thank you, Nan. I truly do not envy the young these days with so many choices. For choice. But the fact is, every learner is unique. And as educators, we have always been reminded that every student is an individual and we must teach them in a way they can learn uniquely and effectively. And for that, we must understand the makeup of learners. Next slide, please. Right. So, let's understand our learners. How are they made up? As I said earlier, if they are viewed as an individual, so the way they are wired would be very different. We have to understand how they are wired. Each and every one of them is differently wired. Some are quick learners, while others are slower. It does not mean the one who's faster are better endowed intellectually than the later, but understanding the way the learners learn helps. We cannot deny that some students are better exposed and invariably seen as gifted learners with higher potential to propel their learning curve ahead of their peers, resulting in successes and achievements way beyond their age. With the mindset that all students are different, individuals with differing strengths, attitudes, and giftings, we need to accept their diversity and allow them to pursue in the field they best thrive in. So with that, we need to work on challenges, build on what they need to have. Some may have language talent, some may have logic challenge. Building and ensuring a strong foundation is therefore very important for them to propel. Teach the way the learner learns. Discover the way they learn best. You see, some people, they learn visually. Some people learn audibly. Some people verbalize what they internalize the system. Some repetitive and reinforcement. Okay? Whatever it is, we need to, can I have the next slide? We need to speak the language of success. Share one experience I had with a child who was brought in by their parents to my room. He was very quiet. He was just allowing me to speak into him and encouraging him. And I did not know that he left my room telling himself, since he believes in me, I must believe in myself. He came back after he had completed with my program with 4 straight A stars to enter medical school in IMU. He was very happy. And in that session, I normally throw thoughts into the young ones to tell them, aim high and hit high. And I like to set goals and take the direction. And because parents were with them, I like to set direction with parents alongside. because I strongly believe joint effort in decision making is so vital. It is so important we can hold the young one accountable. You make that decision, you are therefore accountable to see yourself through in what you have decided. And so, for that, it would be very important to allow them to pursue their interest. I also have the privilege to understand the makeup of the child. I have parents who are so motivated in wanting their children to pursue their ambition, what they want to see their children becoming. Little did I realize that the young ones, they do have their own mind and they do want to pursue their own thing. It's never like when it takes two to clap. On one hand, the learner, and on the other hand, the investor. They need to work alongside. So the next slide tells us pursuing the interest is very important so that we can always give them a push factor for success in deciding in the field that they want to study, and therefore we must ensure that they are given the opportunity. It's a very important time for them to decide. Like I always say, these are impending decisions that they need to make. In the formative years, provide them the wide spectrum. In many of the programs, we can see in the early years, there's a long list of subjects for them to pursue. And in the later teens, they will be minimized to their strength, to their passion, to their personality, and most importantly, what they are really good at. I always tell parents and students, pursue your strength, what you are good at. Some of us numbered people, some of us are word people, and so it is therefore important to know how they are wired and how they should know themselves to pick the right program. Okay. Thank you, Mian.
Thank you very much, Miss Ruth Chia. I really
hit Mian. High, hit high. And so we must stretch the young people, encourage them to aim high. Otherwise, they will settle for less. It is so easy. If you don't set the target for them, they do not really know their capacity they can pursue. And so I like also at times to challenge the young ones, to ask them, stretch out the 8 fingers before you. You are now in your 2nd finger. You have 6 more fingers to go. If your 2nd finger, you have laid the right foundation, the other 6 fingers will be easy life, will be enjoyable life, will be life of fun, will be life you contribute to society. And so the bottom line is stretch them, challenge them. The sky is the limit. Okay.
Wow, thank you very much, Ruth. I'm really stretching my fingers here. Yeah, because I think what you've said applies not just to our children's learning, but ours. Ladies and gentlemen, again, you know, many of you are listening as intently as I am, and there's so much alignment, isn't it, in the message that we are hearing tonight. What Ruth has said is very similar to what Mr. Ng Kim Huat had also been advising us in terms of the tips, yeah, to identify our children's talents and interests and passion, and to recognize that every student, every child is different. Now, I want to hold on to this aspect of choosing the curriculum a little bit more. So having listened to Ruth, I want to open up this session to our other panel speakers, yeah? So Mr. Ng, Mr. Craig, Jerome, Mr. Faisal, get ready. I'm going to ask perhaps Faisal first, yeah? Maybe Faisal, would you like to share how can a parent know if a child is suitable for a particular program? The normal question I get from parents is there an easier program? Is the IB difficult or too difficult for my child? So what do you think, Mr. Faisal? And then we'll move over to Mr. Craig and finally Mr. Ng, okay?
Sure. I think, it's, well, I can speak from based on my observation, being, in different systems before this Cambridge and now IB, work for in terms of employment. Yeah. So, right, in terms of the IB, what I can say is that if the student actually want to be exposed to academic learning in various fields, I think I've listed down that the IB is a unique educational experience. Yeah, IB education promote education of the whole person throughout the emphasis of intellectual, personal, emotional, and social growth. So, is students who want to do the IB really need to be aware in terms of the challenge that they will get actually when they do the IB education. For example, the second one I list down actually on this slide, I did notice actually earlier, there's actually this slide actually being shared actually. A student need to study broad range of subjects. So IB student will need to do different type of subject. Yeah, for example, in MYP there are 8 subject groups, and then IB diploma program there are 6 subject group. Yeah, there is a minimum of 6 subjects. So not all students will be able to do all the 6 subjects because it comes from different subject groups. Yeah? So it's very, very important for parents to be aware of this. And then the IB also emphasized on the language studies. IB student, they must study, all IB students actually, regardless what curriculum. For example, like PYP, MYP, IB diploma program, they have to study at least 2 languages, yeah, including the mother tongue language, yeah, and the language acquisition. Yeah, so IB promote the multilingualism. So again, yeah, for parents, very important for parents to consider this as well. And then I mentioned earlier in terms of development of skills and learning, yeah, and then IB student also, they don't study a subject individually, yeah, but the IB emphasize on link between subject. Or PYP, for example, is transdisciplinary. MYP is interdisciplinary. Yeah, in IB diploma program, actually, there's a theory of knowledge. Yeah, that where students study interdisciplinary, of course, interdisciplinary subjects. Yeah, how to relate from mathematics to science, and language. Yeah, and then IB students also, they evolve in terms of the action, yeah, such as community service, yeah. So students will be able to reflect. So for me, it's very, very important. I think can we move to the next slide? I prepared since we showed the slide. Yeah, just show it. Yeah. So I already, from my observation, actually, I want to share this slide. I already, how to say, came out. Yeah, this is just for myself. Who are IB student? Yeah, so we IB student, for me, actually, I think that if the student want to be exposed to academic learning in various fields, yeah, and then because of the different subject requirement that I mentioned earlier, and then students who are motivated, interested in a challenge, because IB diploma program is a 2-year program. Yeah. It cannot be shortened. It cannot be shortened to 6 months or 1 year, 1 year and a half. Yes, students must attend school actually for 2 years. They have to complete it. Yes, students cannot sit IB diploma as a private candidature, private candidate. Yeah, so they have to attend an IB schools, and during, while the student do 6 subjects I mentioned earlier, student need to do core component. Yeah? 3 core component for IB diploma program: theory of knowledge, creativity action service, and also extended essay. Yeah, and the schedule for student actually is very, very tight, I would say, during the 2 year of the program, but it's really helped them in terms of their time management. So when they go to university, they will be able to, be more independent, because they have been challenged during their 2 year in the school in completing the IB diploma, and then cares about more than just result. Yeah, because in IB, yeah, it educate. It's about education of the whole person, yeah, through an emphasis of intellectual, personal, emotional, and social growth. Yeah, so and student who are determined to do his or her best, willing to be organized in order to complete the work while leading a full balanced life, and can work independently, is self-discipline. I think I pass back to you, Mian. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faisal, for preparing all this information. I think what I'm hearing from you is that to know whether a program is suitable for our child is to learn more about the program, right? And what it represents.
Yes, that's right. You need to understand actually in order to be able to set the expectation.
Yeah, exactly.
So
bring this question further. Sorry, Faisal. Just this question is a very popular one. How can a parent know if my child is suitable for a particular program, whether it's the IGCSE by Cambridge or the IB, one of the IB programs or the Canadian curriculum? What would your advice be, Mr. Craig Giro? And then after your turn, after that, let's turn it to Mr. Ng. Okay, so Craig, over to you.
Yeah, hi, man. So, in response to your question, I'm going to say that, programs are different, and it's probably impossible to determine which one is easier or harder, for each individual. So that I think in the Ontario program, any student can be suitable for the program. I think it's really geared towards a student who is looking for choice and flexibility, and a student who can respond to ongoing learning and evaluation. The Ontario doesn't focus on high-stake exams. It doesn't teach, knowledge and content for the sake of passing an exam. The goal of the Canadian education is to find really relevant and authentic learning opportunities every day, for every student in the classroom.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that perspective. Yeah. What about Mr. Ng? Mr. Ng Kim Huat? If parents were to say, how can I know whether the curriculum is suitable for my child? Is there an easier or harder program for my child?
Yeah, thanks, Mian. I think some parents, they will take their child to that particular program. There's a trial and see, trial and error. They go and the word is just audit the program now. And some schools allow them come and join our program for 2 weeks. Come and see the facilities. And if you don't like it, they take a child out and try another program. So there's so many factors. The cost, the format of the curriculum itself, the facilities in the schools, the teachers that they have, how far is it from the school, physical. There are so many factors that can help a parent to decide, or a child, whether the child wants to take up that program or not. And as I say, each curriculum is fit for a certain purpose. So when we look at a curriculum, we look at the format of a syllabus. Some curriculum is written in such a way that they focus on written exams, and then a practical exam, science practical, and then even for languages, not every language tests all the 4 skills: listening, speaking, writing, and reading. So you also have to look at the format of the curriculum. Then you look at this focuses on coursework. Some students will like coursework. Some is just like the assessment is very informal. And then some will like project work. Not every child is suited for coursework. Some children, I like what Ruth said just now. Each child is wired differently. We know. Some child can stay can read and stay stick to the chair for 4 or 5 hours, but some can't even last 3 minutes. You see, and they run around. So you will understand the characteristic, the nature of your child. So we look at the curriculum, whether you prefer a more written style or a format or a more active one. And then there's a combination of subjects to suit you. You can like music, there's art, there's the languages, if you like languages, and then there's even like physical education. You may like sports, you take up a career in sports, IT. There's so many disciplines that the child can go into. And as mentioned just now, I give you a tip now, So you look at, even from young, you can look at a child's talent, more or less you can assess. Some child grow up faster, some child grow up slower. So you as a parent, I'm sure you observe, the way your child is growing. So you look at what kind of thing will most probably suit your child. Not everybody likes coursework. It's not always easy. People think coursework is easy. It's not. My son failed coursework. And when he was doing the matriculation, you see, we had to repeat coursework because he's so actively involved in sports. He's just not disciplined, he can't sit down. So it's just like each child, you have to look at it. What what format of study is suitable for a child. And then you also have to look at the assessment part of it. So when you look at assessment, some just take coursework. So broadly speaking, we can divide into the modular type. Modular, do module A, B, and C. Or you can look the linear type. At the A levels is more linear. So you study for 12 months, 18 months, you can just do the exam one shot. So there is a thinking, each format has its own strengths and weaknesses, yeah. But the general thinking, the linear approach is more rigorous and holistic. It is more suited for especially the produce of brighter students, yeah. But having said that, in the AS level, we have a staged assessment. Yeah, after 12 months, you can put stage 1, stage 2. So it's also a linear approach. So the approach to assessment can also make a difference to what program you're going to choose. So the best thing, go to a school. Every school has its own counselor. Let ask the school, can I audit your class for 2 weeks? And then you make a decision. Yeah, so that's my response. Yeah, Mian, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ng. It wasn't an easy question that I asked the panelists, so I do want to appreciate them, for being very candid. We don't want to put any school in a spot. In an audience of tonight's size, there might be some colleagues from other schools. So, whatever is suggested here is in the interest of a conversation or suggestion. So, Mr. Ng, because I just don't know whether SIS, we don't practice trial classes, for example. Okay, so just not shifting gear, but extending this question a little bit, I'd like to pose this to Ruth. So Ruth, if you can be ready. Mr. Ng just talked about it. Some parents, because we are concerned for our children, we want to make sure there's a good fit. So we may be moving our children from one program to another, perhaps even one school to another. And of course, Kim Huat, I appreciate your example there, to trying different options available. We also have parents already typing in the chat group, my child is already doing this, but thinking of doing something different. So how should I go about the change? So Ruth, my question to you is, in your opinion, as programs do allow this flexibility, and at the end of the day, we've said that the Cambridge is internationally recognized, so to the Canadian program, so to the IB. What are your thoughts on the, to what extent should parents really think about flexibility and recognition of school qualifications?
Thank you, Mian. Yes, there is flexibility, but sometimes flexibility does involve a price and time. And so I would say it is so vital to do your groundwork, your search, your knowledge base as to the place where you want the child to progress to pursue the particular course of interest to the child. What does he or she needs to have? I think all these are very important groundwork that every student and parent should do to prepare themselves. Have the right subject combination. I'll give you an example. Generally, for challenging courses, if they want to pursue challenging courses like medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, engineering, they must have certain types of subjects. Like for medicine, 3 sciences and 1 math is vital. For engineering, you must have physics. You cannot not have physics. And having further math is an advantage. So we always stretch the young when they are young. Start them when they are young, give them the platter of poisons, and then build into their strength and make sure they have the strong standing for recognition. I give you an example. I have students who come in and tell me, I want to do 5 A level subjects. I say, no, you don't need 5. Now it's talking about the last stage of progression into university. And you just need to have strong 4 subjects. True enough, because he said, if I have 5 and it's so competitive, I want to get into NUS to pursue engineering. And so I must make sure I have 5 subjects as compared to the others. No, you don't need 5. And of course, to end the story short, he stuck with 4 and he ended with 4 A star, and he managed to get into NUS to pursue the course that we want with the right subject combination. I think that is an important, though it's flexible, has what it requires so that you can move around. Thank you, Mian.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Ruth Chia. If you have any more questions, I think a little slide will come out later as well with the contact numbers. We are also very excited. I'm very excited. I'm losing my voice. We are moving our SIS KL campus to a new campus in USJ. So please scan the QR code to reserve a spot in the program, or just come to our website and find more information. If you do not yet know, I'm also very pleased to share that Sunway International Schools as a group offers all of the 3 curricula that we talked about tonight. The top-ranked Canadian education at both SIS campuses in KL and in Johor Bahru. The globally leading international baccalaureate programs. We have the IB-DP in SIS KL, as well as the IB-MYP, DP, and CP at SIS Johor. And we have a new school located in the USJ campus, Sunway City International School, that will offer the premier Cambridge international programs that Mr. Ng and Ms. Ruth touched on tonight. If I turn to the next slide, I think parents, if you can take a quick screenshot of the contact numbers of our 3 campuses, let us know how we can help answer some of your questions further. So with that, I believe that's the last of the slides. And again, I know we have left many questions unanswered, but join us, contact us and join us for the future SIS Coffee Talks. This is why we are here. We're here to share education with everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is also the last talk for this year, for 2022. So I welcome you to our Coffee Talks series number 9, but that would be in the first quarter of next year. So with that, again, having thanked our panel of speakers, I now thank you, members of the audience. Thank you all parents, guardians, fellow educators who have joined us tonight. Thank you for joining us. Have a safe and wonderful weekend and watch a bit more of the World Cup.